All right, C-Stacks. So just in case anybody hasn't watched the top
Okay.
four
So
matchups that we had last week,
going
why
first.
don't you give us a rundown of the type of decks we should be?
For
Yeah, so obviously this Black Cat deck is going to focus on discard. Black Cat wants to have hand advantage, more cards in hand than the opponent.
this hand.
So it's going to like to go second. I believe David has the priority here to choose who goes first or second. So you
I'm
kind of
going.
want to make Black Cat go first, but Black Cat's going
I'm
to try to
gonna
discard
try
your hand.
this.
And the big
Okay.
thing that Bert is looking for is to get a the 3-drop Grandmaster and the 6-drop Mind Gem
Little
to
Spider-Man.
either make David discard 3 random cards or draw 3 cards into his hand. So that is kind of the linchpin of Black Cat being able to level up. It's huge. It's really, really good
Got a little
for
fighter
Bert's
mode. He
strategy.
gonna
So
get
he's
his
going to try
heart
to
out.
discard and he's going to try to get to that Mind Gem early on if he
I
can.
wanna
And then this
create
Spider-Man deck
a
is a
man.
very,
My
very
man just got
location heavy deck.
fired.
There's
So he just
26
looking
locations in
for.
this Spider-Man deck. So you can always make sure you get that climb. You can always make
I
sure you
really
get your
like this
XP.
level 2. When he
And
flips his wrist,
basically,
very
the
explosive.
Spider-Man kind of just wants to sit back for the first 4 or 5
You're gonna have
turns
to
or
sell
so.
me on it.
Maybe play a character or two, but he just wants to play a
He like,
new
you
location
got
every
four
turn,
drop
level
for
up,
it. Can you
get
try
to
it
those
again?
later drops where he's really going to start to thrive once he gets to level 2 and he's triggering all those good far from home abilities.
Let's see now.
Um,
Let's have a good
so
time.
yeah, so Bert's going to try to discard, draw some cards, and Dave's just going to try to
You
take it easy
good?
until he
Yep,
can get to
I'm
level
good.
2.
Let's
Mm.
do it.
Yeah, we saw last time Bert's deck. He played three
So Spider-Man gonna
games,
start in the back row.
only won one, and that was the game he went
Okay, so
second. So it does
he in the
appear
back row.
that
He gonna
David decided
formation
to go
good.
first
We gonna
Yeah,
need
yeah,
to
after
climb
Bert has taken a.
for the experience and get a
Yeah,
plus
so
one
I
value.
wonder if maybe he hasn't tested
And
this
that would be my plan.
matchup extensively, or maybe he just really wanted that going first advantage. But it's a little
Going
sketchier
to
against Black
play
Cat because she loves having those 2 extra cards in her hand. It makes her level up
with
much
Solo,
smoother if she
and I'm
gets to
going to
go
pass.
second. So
I'm
that's
at 8
definitely
health,
what
6. I
she
gain 2
wants to
XP.
see is
That
if
sounds
she wants to
good.
go second.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and Bert just
Gonna
gained
draw two.
2 XP off that first turn.
Yeah, plays that resource and then passes and doesn't have to fight for the XP like she would if she had to go
Gonna
first.
play an X file.
Yep.
But yeah, no 1-drop for either player here. It's interesting because this, in one hand, this might be a little bit of an easier matchup for Bert
Gonna
because
play Tony Stark.
he's not really playing against an aggressive deck, at least not early on. Spider-Man's not aggressive in the early turns, right? So he's not fighting for those 5 wounds that he's
Stark-Mania.
got. Bert isn't,
Hmm.
but
Double climb.
on the other side of that, because it's not an aggressive deck, he's not putting down a whole bunch of cards really quickly. But he did get to go second, so that goes a long, long way.
And
Everybody in chat, Build
oh, we got
Phase
a
and
time.
Team Attack Podcast, thanks for joining us. We are running a poll in chat right now to see who you think is going to win the first matchup. You can vote by typing in exclamation point vote and either David or Bert. Let us know who you think is going to take this first match. David's got himself, looks like he's climbed twice, and Tony Stark, which is going to let him draw cards, which could be in the benefit for.
Yeah, that genius might bridge that gap a little bit for Bert getting to
Going
go
to
second.
play.
Tony Stark getting the extra card into David's hand every turn could maybe
Climb them both.
slow down Bert's XP a little bit. He's showing a yellow and a
I'm
vault
gonna
though,
play
so if he does
Ronan.
manage to get the Grandmaster next turn
Okay.
and either a Wakanda or just the Mind Gem itself, he'll be able to get off that Mind Gem next turn, which will be huge.
Accuse you of having
Looks like
been
he's using that vault
installing
right away though for Ronin.
Take the acquisition.
I wonder what he called there.
Odin Goose. Okay.
I'll leave it up for a turn or so.
Okay. That's good.
Okay.
Yeah, we do know that Bert is running the nullifier, which slowed down David on his matchup last
I
week,
have 8 again. I'll pass
forcing
and I
him to
get 2
wait
more XP.
turns in order to level
Okay.
up.
2 more XP.
Yeah,
Actually,
Nullifier
we're gonna
is
see this
uniquely
time.
strong
Get the
against
genius.
Spider-Man in that it not only nullifies a power, but it puts you off
You good on the hand
his
coming up,
XP,
right?
which normally Nullifier doesn't
Okay.
do. But because his level up condition hinges on being able to climb, by nullifying climb, you are not only taking away climb, but you're taking away his ability to level up. So Bert accused something there. I didn't catch what it was, but he missed. Didn't hit anything out of the hands. But we saw a bunch of high drops. I saw a Molder, and I saw that Goose in there. So I saw Goose, I saw Odin, I saw Molder, and I saw some locations.
And Goose takes out Ronan.
And Goose is going to eat Ronan. Going to make sure that we remember to get the climb for the experience. And he got his extra draw this turn with Tony Stark, which is very good, especially in this matchup.
And we're gonna go into
And Iron Man is finally big enough to take a swing at Black Cat. He's got 6 attack.
no effects.
I'm at 1.
And it looks like Burst is going to take it.
And of course, leave me 7
Well,
cards in my hand, but I'm pretty
That's
sure you
probably
already know.
why David decided to go first, because he had that Tony Stark and knew that he could fill that gap that he needed. Plus, he needed to climb 4 times in a row, so he's trying to keep ahead of everybody, or in front of Bert.
So this could be the big turn for Bert. Turn 3 is usually the big swing where we see Grandmaster Mind Gem. And there it is.
And there it is.
That is exactly what Bert wants to see on turn 3. He will now have the choice here to either pay a yellow to draw 3 cards or discard 3 random cards from the opponent.
And he has chosen to force Dave to discard cards.
Yeah, especially with that extra card that he's drawing with Tony Stark. I think it's good to get in there and kind of tear that hand up before it gets too outrageous.
And a fox in 2 locations.
Ooh, okay. I didn't see which locations it was he had before, but it's possible we could see him kind of mess up the level up here. If I've never seen David miss a location in the early game before, but maybe it'll happen now with all this discard we see happening.
Well, he still has Tony Stark out there, so he's still able to draw an additional card. So maybe he doesn't, especially with all of those locations in his deck.
Yeah. This early on, Bert he doesn't have a way to go aggressive and get to that Tony Stark. So unfortunately, he's going to kind of have to let David get those extra cards for the time being.
And Bert has passed.
Okay, draw 3.
Yep.
And Black Cat is 2 away from leveling up.
So we'll be on 4 resources this turn.
And there's his 4th. David is rocking a brand new Spider-Man playmat that's available right now in local stores or on upperdeckstore.com. It's part of the new card accessories that we released. We'll be releasing a new character every month.
So we see May Parker come out.
May Parker has been kind of a cornerstone to David's wins. Really helps boost up Spider-Man.
Yeah, when May Parker comes out, it becomes much more difficult to get a crack at Spider-Man.
Yeah, she gives Spider-Man a +3/+3. Plus, he's got +4 counters on him. And he's already sitting at a base of a 6/6. So that makes him a 13/13.
That is a 13/13 Spider-Man right there. Yeah, with flight on your turn if you paraglide, which you'll be able to start doing starting next turn. And of course, he will get some really strong powers with every location that he plays from this point onward. So going to take the Mind Gem off of Grandmaster there. But of course, Grandmaster will stick around because he's an Elder of the Universe. And the Mind Gem will shuffle back into the deck with the Infinity keyword. So if he has something like a Wakanda, or if he was lucky enough to hard draw the Mind Gem, he could get it again.
I like that. All right, I'm gonna place red.
Seeing a training ground from Bert.
Going to play
David's board is looking really pretty stacked right now. That May Parker in the back, huge Spider-Man, and
that's Mystique.
Mystique coming
from
down.
the Utopia battles. It is
we're just
Dave
gonna move to
did.
the end.
He
We're
left
gonna do
Goose in the
combat
front row,
first,
and he's done that before, and
and
it's
then I'm gonna level up.
it's something I am curious about why he would do that, especially because it's
Mine is
keeping
like my yeah.
Ronan locked down.
Yeah, he left Goose in the front row that time, and he moved Tony Stark up to the front row that time, which just made that mutant bomb way better than it would have been if maybe David had organized a little differently. So that mutant bomb allowed him to really shrink down that front row and to take out that Tony Stark that he probably wouldn't have been able to take out otherwise.
Striking Black Cat.
Yeah, that's
You're a 7/7.
putting the Tony Stark and the
Maybe
Goose up
maybe,
front is a little bit
Right.
makes you scratch your head a bit. But Bert gets to flip this turn.
Yeah, the Logian in chat is saying that he was trying for an all-out protection of May, which is possible, but he winds up losing or possibly losing huge chunks that
Yeah.
could benefit.
I think he's right. I think it's just a big effort to protect May, but I don't think it's necessary in this matchup. At least this early in the game, I don't think Bert has many aggressive plays to try to get back to the back row. But yeah, I think that was the idea there.
Black Cat has leveled up, so she gains a new power across the path, which allows her to, with a red during enemy turn combat, to daze each enemy character in the combat with Black Cat.
Yeah, so she effectively has a combat cancel at level 2. She's got 8 defense and a built-in combat cancel for a red. So she's tougher to hit, which is why a lot of times Bert is okay taking a wound or 2 in the early turns. We can see that Bert took those 3 wounds early on. It's possible he does have the defensive pumps in his hand. He just was kind of holding on to those for the hand advantage that you need in those early turns. And it looks like we are using Wakanda and a yellow to grab the nullifier.
The nullifier.
Would have been really strong early on to declare the climb, but it's still very, very strong here to delete the Far From Home ability on Spider-Man, which will, of course, will give you a different, unique power for whatever location type that you play.
And he called Far From Home as his as the power to nullify.
Let's pass the turn.
So now all Spider-Man can do is paraglide. The rest of him is blank right now.
Black Cat is sitting at 3 wounds with Spider-Man at none. I'm trying to remember if last week Bert ever leveled up with Black Cat.
I think he did once. I think he even did game 1, which he lost that game anyway. But a lot of times you don't level up, especially if they make you go first. You just you're resigned to your fate, and you say, all right, I'm not going to level up this game, but I'm just going to try to get to the late game and win regardless. But obviously it's to your advantage to go second and get that level up and get that big defense and that combat cancel that she has at level 2, which she's probably going to need here because Spider-Man might not have Far From Home, but he does have May Parker in the back row.
And Buffy shows up. Since she's playing against a evil team, that gives her Slayer.
Yeah, which I think lines up really well against that Grandmaster, who normally cannot be KO'd in combat. But let me go. Let me check the wording on Slayer. I don't know if she has to just stun it or if she has to wound it in order to remove it, because that will be the factor there. She does have to wound the character, so she actually cannot slay Grandmaster. So I'll correct myself there.
2. Let's play the stun. We're gonna play the City Hunter.
It's like Bert made it out with all his characters. And Ghost will either be grabbing the Mind Gem or the Serpent Crown that Bert has left in his deck.
As we get a card-by-card reveal of what's in Bert's deck. Looks like
Yep.
Serpent Crown.
So he's going to take the Serpent Crown in his hand, which he
Who's that
will be
to
able to
the
play
left
next
of
turn.
us?
He'll be on 7 resources next turn. He could play that Serpent Crown if he wanted. Very, very good card.
So Dave's got Buffy, Spider-Man, and Dawn in the front row, and then Dana Scully, Goose, and May Parker in her back row, or in his back row. No wounds yet, but he's got a lot of face-up locations. Hasn't really needed a superpower at all.
Yeah, but he will be on 7 resources next turn.
Black Cat
He's
is
showing
the
3 X-Files and an Academy, and we know that Mulder is in the list. So Mulder could come out and start to wreak havoc on Bert's deck. I think we'll definitely see Mulder. If we see Mulder next turn, I think he's definitely calling Dark Phoenix.
So Ghost went into Dawn, and then Black Cat took out May Parker.
Do you have May Parker in the front row?
He did not. He had May Parker in the back row.
What am I missing?
Molder.
Okay, so it just must have because so Ghost has Leap, so it must have been Black Cat into. Yeah, so it must have been Ghost to fly back and hit.
Yeah, that's 7.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll keep the
Okay, so I just misheard.
Paraglide.
And there's the Mulder.
The truth is
Well,
out
Let's
there.
see what he calls. I would bet almost anything it's Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, she's out there, man.
Yeah, he called Dark Phoenix.
Yep.
That's the rest of my hand.
Okay.
Yep. Dark Phoenix is a win condition all on her own, especially in the photographic matchup. There's not much that they can do to deal with it, and Bert's playing a full suite of 4 copies of it. So he had 2 in his hand, which hurts for sure, and now he has to go into the deck and pull out the other 2.
Now Bert still has that Serpent Crown, which allows him to grab somebody on his next turn.
Yep. He still has a Serpent Crown in his hand. He had Jungle Hunter in his hand. The move next turn might have been play Jungle Hunter, ramp a resource, and then followed up with Dark Phoenix on the following turn. But that's out the window now. He's gonna have to aim for a different kind of end game now.
Buffy into Ghost.
Buffy heads for Ghost.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it a second time. Buff. If you have no response, I'm gonna do it a second time.
Okay, do it the second time. All right.
And he's buffed her twice.
Okay.
Yeah, trying to slay those 2 wounds off Ghost here.
Actually,
Bert, his best endgame he has now is Sentry, who needs a yellow to strike anytime he wants to do anything aggressive.
he's checking out.
And he'll only be on 7 resources next turn, so if he can't kill that Molder, then David has another chance to go at his deck, and I would call Sentry if I had another shot at Molder, because then Bert's endgame is pretty much nothing. I mean, he's got Jungle Hunter in his deck, but he doesn't have the Predator ships or the Valverdan jungles to get the aggressive value off of it. It's just a 6/6 in Bert's deck. So Bert's running out of endgame cards here if Molder has a chance to stick around.
Okay.
Buffy was able to remove Ghost from the game, and then Mulder, after powering up, takes a shot at Black Cat. So Bert then dramatic entrance in Jungle Hunter.
Now he'll be on 8 resources next turn, so he could slam down that Sentry if he has it. I didn't see if it was in his hand, but I think you need to throw down Sentry before Mulder has a chance to take all copies of them out. Otherwise, you don't have very many aggressive cards. That dramatic Jungle Hunter is always a super strong combination, as we've seen.
We'll make you spend.
Yeah, it's Bert is definitely a fan of it.
No effects.
I'm definitely spending that.
Yep. So Spider-Man tries to swing at Black Cat, but that cross your path power with the red is going to daze Spider-Man, canceling the combat effectively, and the big thing, removing those 4+1 counters that were on Spider-Man. So that's very significant.
That's annoying. Okay, we're gonna play this yellow, and we're gonna slam
He finds a yellow,
the wall.
and he
And
slams
there's
down the
Sentry.
wall.
Power of a
Sentry.
million exploding suns down to the board.
I wonder what the move is here. Does he spend the yellow to hit? And he does.
Very, very bad
Oh yeah, he's definitely going to spend that.
I have no answer for that.
Yep. So spending the yellow so that Sentry can strike this turn, and taking out Molder. I think you have to do that. It's crucial.
That's it.
And we know that Dave already lost another one of the Molders early on in the game.
Yep, he's got one left. And short of team attacking, he doesn't have anything in his deck that can line up with Sentry. He does have, however, 8-drop Captain Marvel, which has higher, further, faster. So she doesn't even have to mess with Sentry. She can fly right past him.
So there's the 4th X-Files we've seen on David's side.
Then we're gonna Tony Stark.
And another Tony Stark, a Dawn.
I like that.
Formation.
Yep.
So wound count update for those in chat. Our Black Cat's got 3 and Spider-Man has 0.
Yep, 0 on Spider-Man. That stun he took last turn was a daze from Cross Your Path, so still no wounds on Spider-Man there.
Have 3, 6, 9. I'm going to play the Dual Maul Leviathan.
Okay.
All right, so
Dual Maul Leviathan.
Let me take care of the minuses first.
Super good card. Obviously, Comet Fall will come in, put a -1 counter on David's whole board there, killing Dawn and Goose, allowing Bert to pick Ronin back up. And then also, Dual Maul Leviathan has the added bonus of making the opponent discard 2 cards, which I believe David is considering right now. It's his choice, but it's a tough choice.
Looks like you're the last one and a wild location.
Wow.
I'm going to play
That's
this guy.
Those are 2 good cards. You're the last one is kind of dead right now, so I could see that, I suppose. Scully takes a hit. Oh, also we saw Leviathan Demolisher. Comet Fall again. Big time cleanup turn for Bert. Huge swing
I'm
here.
going to have Dual Maul attack your Spider-Man.
And Dual Maul takes a swipe at Spider-Man.
8-7.
Yeah, Demolisher turned down that yellow as well.
That's good for the first one.
Turning off.
Yeah.
And Spider-Man takes his first wound.
All right, draw 3.
Yeah. So, I mean, David still has the wound advantage, but these last 2 turns have been big swings for Bert, bringing out Sentry and then Dual Maul and Demolisher, really cleaning up the board there with the minus counters, and swinging in and taking everything out, and then tearing up David's hand just a little bit more.
Yeah, one thing that we've seen from David with his deck is he usually has a lot of answers in the form of plot twists, and we have not been seeing that at all.
Bifrost?
Yeah, I wonder if it could be he's been drawing those. You're the last ones, but the way that the board state has been, they're just dead cards in David's hand here.
Shout out to chat. Thank you very much for everybody for joining us. If you've just joined us, this is the Quarantine Cup Battle for the Bronze. We've got Bert and Black Cat versus David and Spider-Man MCU.
Okay, Recruiting a Don.
Now, I just thought of something here that we so Grandmaster has enforce the rules of the game. When exporting character appears other than by getting recruited from the hand, KO it. So Dawn should KO as soon as she enters play, I believe.
Okay, give me a second.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong there, chat, but I believe
Hey, guys.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
For Grandmaster,
believe we missed
he
that last
has
time.
an ability.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
It is something that we
Yeah.
missed.
Yeah.
Wait, did that occur after? Was that after the first dawn too, or no?
Yeah, it should have. Yes.
Oh wow. Okay, I apologize. I should have caught that.
Yeah, it's yeah. Don't play from hand. Correct.
Yeah, both players missed that the first time, and the
Okay.
commentators also missed it. So it's accepted game state the first time, but got to keep people honest.
Absolutely. That was a good catch.
Playing the Odin.
Odin comes down.
Anthony
It's the first time we've seen Odin.
Yeah, so Odin is his 8-drop. I talked earlier about Captain Marvel, but looking at the list again, there is no 8-drop Captain Marvel in this list. It's just Odin as his finisher.
Yeah, I think Captain Marvel was on the Captain Marvel MCU.
Yes, that's right. What happened to Sentry there?
That's a great question. Unfortunately, I missed that.
Oh, it was a Bifrost. Looks like a Bifrost.
Gotcha.
Yeah, a Bifrost and a blue from
Bifrost.
hand. Yep.
Yeah, Chad is calling it out as the Bifrost.
Cards in hand. 4.
2.
2. Okay. We're gonna cross them up.
Mm-hmm.
So by removing the wall, as Bert and I call him, big old Sentry flyer in the front row, removing that with Bifrost gets you a chance to take a crack at some of these other characters here.
Yeah, he sent Spider-Man into Black Cat again, and yet again, Bert played the red to cancel the combat and Day Spider-Man.
Unable to really capitalize on the Bifrost removing Sentry there because he didn't really get to crack at the back row. Just took out the two guys in the front row, and Sentry comes right back and.
So it looks like the Serpent Crown is being played on Odin.
That's so strong. Oh man, that's gotta hurt.
I'll pass.
In addition to your 18/18 flying Sentry, you're now taking Odin and making Spider-Man a 1/1 instead of your Black Cat. Incredibly strong.
So one thing I do love about these games, early on it looks one-sided, and then suddenly it just flip-flops, and the other guys got control.
Absolutely, we haven't seen a steamroll yet.
No, we haven't. It's been such good games these last couple of weeks.
So we could see another Odin here. There's still a Molder left in the deck, but I feel like David's kind of running low on high drop finisher type characters here, things that close the game out for you. And it doesn't feel great that Bert stole one from him.
Yeah, Dave does run 2 copies of Odin, but it just seems like we've been seeing a lot of characters, but not a lot of plot twists. And of course, he's got so many locations in that deck, he could just be limited on what he's able to pull.
Yeah, and I didn't catch it. It's possible he could have lost in Odin earlier in the game to a discard effect. I didn't see one, but it could have happened.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't recall seeing one either.
Realizing that if he uses Tony Stark to bring out Iron Man, it will be immediately KO'd.
When a supporting character appears other than by being recruited.
Wow, that Grandmaster got super powerful for this matchup.
Yeah. He's more of a. I think in this deck in particular, he's more thought of just he's an activator for Mind Gem, right? He lets you bring out the Mind Gem 3 turns earlier. So I feel like Bert maybe wasn't thinking about that, but it's become incredibly valuable here.
Actively forgetting that he's on the board right now.
Yeah, even Bert's making the comment that he's not looking at that power either. He's brought it in for a certain ability, and it just happens to be a bonus.
Yeah, absolutely. And
there's the other Odin.
Annihilation. Paraglide.
Mm-hmm.
David does not have any flyers up front, so Sentry could make just an easy shot at Spider-Man.
Yeah, if he has the yellow to do it, is the only thing.
Very true.
Sentry is very strong when you can pair it with a Dark Phoenix to remove the Reluctant God keyword, and then he can just swing without any worry. But Bert is all out of Dark Phoenix. He's got none left. They've all been removed with Smolder.
There's the yellow.
Bert finds the yellow, though.
Let's play.
Both players sitting at 10 resources.
Let's play Jungle Hunter.
And Jungle Hunter pops up.
Jungle Hunter. I think maybe if you have a yellow left, grab the yellow. Just grab some more ammunition for your Sentry, right?
I'm also
A vault instead.
A vault?
That's cool.
Oh, going for the Mind Gem again. Okay. Grabbing the vault, which will be a
I love this game.
Mind Gem activation for the Grandmaster. He pays the Wakanda and the yellow to grab the Mind Gem from his deck while he's at it.
So the last time we saw the Mind Gem, he forced David to discard 3 cards. Does he do the same thing here, or does he draw?
You know, it depends. I don't know how many cards Bert is holding in his hand. I think maybe he's going to try to dig. I think he's going to draw.
How many cards do you have?
Although David only has 3 cards in his hand, so you could just wipe him out here. You could take David's hand out.
All right, we're gonna put that for
And
free.
the Mind Gem goes on to Grandmaster for free.
Let's draw 3 cards.
Okay.
And he's drawn 3 cards.
Drawing cards. Sounds good.
Let's have.
But it did eat up the yellow for Sentry to attack.
Jungle Hunter.
Yep, Sentry is going to remain a wall for the time being, I think. Don't think he's swinging this turn.
Measly little 6/6.
Jungle Hunter takes a swipe.
I have nothing.
Trying to put a wound on Buffy there, but Buffy's going to power up.
He is a 6/6.
Trying to get the Buffy to be able to strike back, because I believe Slayer will even trigger on the crackback.
And that would be
It will not,
Yeah,
while Buffy is
that's
melee
trigger.
attacking.
Yep. Slayer occurs on the attack, right?
right.
I'm
Correct,
trying to get the
correct.
trade regardless. So Buffy and Jungle Hunter will trade wounds there.
Yeah.
Worth throwing that at? Yeah, sure. We'll do Sentry.
Sentry is swinging with a yellow from the hand, I assume. Yep.
Yep, there it is.
Man, he gonna die.
I'll pass the turn.
And Tony Stark takes it out.
Yep,
Drawing
taking
2.
out Iron Man.
Yep.
Or Tony Stark, rather. I'm curious what I would have expected to see last turn is maybe David try to trade Odin with Odin. We didn't see that last turn.
Yeah, because both MCs are sitting at a base of a 1/1, which makes
Yep.
them both very
Blue.
vulnerable.
Blue.
Yep, but both 1/1s right now.
Yep.
Iron Man.
Could be that David's now focused on Grandmaster, seeing how
Sure.
2 of his cards are pretty much null and void.
Draw a card, gain a recruit.
Yeah, that Grandmaster has put an unexpected twist on things.
You're at 3.
Actually, we're gonna one of Odin.
Yep.
And then the one
See,
of,
now his Grandmaster is 1 bigger than Bert's Grandmaster, with the genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist putting a 1/1 counter on it.
Odin into Odin.
And there's the Odin into Odin.
Right.
Yeah.
We're going to.
And we will see a
in
dramatic
Jungle Hunter. He's
Jungle
gonna
Hunter.
immediately die to the
Yeah,
Grandmaster.
To go grab yet another resource for Bert.
Oh wow.
I forgot to climb that time.
It's a Madripoor this time.
He has one count on
Effectively,
him.
another combat cancel if someone tries to take a crack at Black Cat. He's had that nullifier for a long time now. It's the longest I've seen a nullifier stick in a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, Bert's got so many different cards that could just draw attention from his opponent. It's almost difficult to figure out which one you want to go for
How many
first.
cards do you have? 3?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it certainly helps he's got him hidden behind those two big walls up front.
Oh yeah, big time. Sentry put in so much work as a blocker, and he's going to be tough if David ever decides that he needs to pay attention to Sentry. He's going to have to team attack into it. Something that could be really strong is if we see David draw the second goose. He's got so many resources now. He could probably afford to pay 8 resources to eat Sentry, which would be incredible.
Okay, I'm gonna play a Magic 4.
Okay.
A second Madripoor, which gives Black Cat even more protection.
Let's do
No ammunition for Sentry though, so if he wants to be aggressive, it's gonna be kind of tough to put a wound on Spider-Man at this point.
Well, he's playing around with Odin and possibly Jungle Hunter.
Odin into Iron Man.
And Odin goes for Iron Man.
That's good.
Yep, so
Jungle
takes down
Hunter
Iron
into
Man
Buffy.
pretty handily, and then probably
Jungle Hunter into
Let's
Buffy.
go for a second.
Buffy with those 3 health though,
Buffy
she's
didn't
very
trade.
sticky.
Oh,
I'll pass the turn.
And Bert goes ahead and passes.
Yep.
This is one of the longer games we've been watching the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're in game 1 right now still. Bert really pulling it out in the late game here, even despite losing arguably his win condition in Dark
Paraglide.
Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, Maria Hill comes out.
And she has that stealth on her turn, so it could mean that she could go after Grandmaster.
Could be Grandmaster or well, if you try to swing a Black Cat, you're just gonna get hit with the days, right? So yeah, we'll see what he goes for. Only good putting stun on a Grandmaster will do is to get rid of the Mind Gem.
Pay the blue to buff.
All right, so Buffy's going into Grandmaster,
Yes.
and the blue's been paid to buff her up.
Okay. RG.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're going to make a fair trade out of that.
Puts the final wound onto Jungle Hunter. Gets removed with Slayer.
Marie Hill into Black Cat.
Maria Hill goes towards Black Cat.
Yes.
And is almost definitely just going to get hit
I'm
with
gonna cross
the
Okay.
cross your path, dazing Maria Hill and leaving Black Cat unscathed with the nullifier fully intact.
And Odin into Odin.
I'm gonna shock your Odin.
Okay.
And shock to the system. First time we've seen plot twist from Bert.
No, he's a 12 defense. I'm sorry. He's still a 12 defense.
Makes a trade. Oh, looks like he was mistaken there because your +1 counter makes his Odin 1 bigger, so the attack just bounces.
Pass turn. 4 cards in hand.
4 cards in hand. Okay.
I can't even tell how many resources that is on Bert's side. 11, 12, somewhere around there.
Looks like 13.
Play these 2 Leviathans, so Comet Fall 2.
He's got 2 Leviathans coming out, which is fall on both of them.
One's gonna remove
Yeah,
your
which will
graveyard, and
should
one's
be
gonna
enough minus
kill
counters
you
to
if you don't already have
to
them.
stun Spider-Man, I believe.
Okay, so
Oh, what's the consideration here?
Well, I got 1 down left.
There we go.
So was Fanged.
Going to the next game.
Spider-Man should be a base of a 1/1.
4 in your hand. Let's
Looks like he
do
might have had
my
2 +1
Odin
counters
and
on him
your
though.
Odin.
So the Fang
good.
Leviathan didn't do anything due to the fact that the main character already has a wound on it, but the other Leviathan removed David's KO
Last
pile.
one.
Sure.
Yeah, let me take a peek in
One, two.
David's deck list, see if that impacts his strategy in any way. I don't know that he has anything that interacts with the KO pile. I'm looking. I don't believe he has any KO pile interaction, but the Comet Fall makes it easier to put a wound on that Odin. So now your Odins are back to being tied, and your Odin is 1 wound up. Can't afford to let your Odin get stunned though, because he will. As soon as that Serpent Crown goes away, you lose your Odin. And there's a Bifrost. Doesn't currently
There's
have
a
an activator
Bifrost.
for it though. I think we finally saw the You're the Last One get some value last turn.
Yeah, finally. It's been impressive to see David's deck react differently than it has before. You recall one of the games last week where every time he was attacked, he had an answer for it,
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
driving his opponent crazy.
This one's a 6/6.
Okay.
This one's a 3/4.
Okay.
For those of you that are in chat, appreciate you taking the time and joining us on some fun versus System 2PCG and Quarantine Cup Battle for the Bronze.
Okay.
If you enjoy what you do see, make sure you give us a follow, and that way you don't miss out on any of the fun we've got planned.
Odin to Odin.
Any effects
Odin
you-
takes another swipe at Odin.
I'm gonna shock your Odin.
And another shock comes down,
Another shock.
which will mean a trade. Well, not a trade, rather.
I switched
A
it
wound
back.
for David's Odin,
I
but
feel so
leaving
Disrespectful.
Bert's Odin intact.
It is not fast turn.
Leaving just Maria Hill and a Spider-Man in the back.
That's really funny.
John Rayner, thank you very much for the follow. Appreciate it.
Hilarious.
Don't even have the academy either.
Yeah.
You must have already
Another
broke
Jungle
down
Hunter
your
comes out.
deck.
I'm curious if he's got anything left that he can grab. We're gonna check.
Okay.
Gonna find out here.
Grab this guy.
A Training Ground comes out. Another red for
Another red, yeah.
Black Cat's cancel.
I would like
Her
to
days,
have
rather.
Fang Leviathan attack Maria Hill.
That's good.
Going to have my Odin.
Unless we see You're the Last One, we could finally get a wound on Spider-Man this turn, and You're the Last One,
Yes,
indeed.
I thought you were the last one.
Cancels the combat, ends the turn. Bert's got to be sick of that by now. We're very far into this game. Bert's still behind on wounds, but the board state has swung pretty decisively in Bert's favor. And
next turn. That's
arguably,
These two
David's
split.
last
They both
remaining
should be
kind
raised
of
up.
boss character,
Don't
his
play
boss
face down.
creature there in Odin is on his last health.
I'm gonna play Maria Hill.
Maria Hill.
And Maria Hill comes back, and he's moving everything to the front row.
Interesting.
I'm gonna Bifrost your Century.
And Sentry gets a Bifrost.
Sure.
Sentry gets removed. We'll see him at the beginning of the following turn.
Paraglide first?
I did, so I can't do that. You're right. Sure enough, you're right.
Um,
My bad. My
so
bad.
because
Here.
I
You got me
went
fixed.
for it too. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's
Right.
fine.
because Spider-Man paraglided using the Bifrost, he couldn't use the power on the Bifrost.
Is that
That's right.
really
Yeah, I did paraglide. Yeah.
That seems to be the conversation they're having.
Team attack on Odin.
interesting?
This one doesn't have any wounds, right?
Correct.
See another potential ruling here with this Odin coming back to
11.
to
Yeah.
David's side, I wonder.
Let's get back Spider-Man.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's correct because that was the older copy of Odin, so that should be the one to be KO'd, I believe.
How many Leviathan do you have removed from play in the KO?
Removed from play, I have one.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so normally
And then in the KO
exhausted
pile, I
location
have
can still be paid for powers, but in the case of Bifrost,
Dual Maul.
Bifrost is the
Okay.
one whose power you're using, right?
So
It's
you
printed
see
on
the
Bifrost,
7,
so
the
I think that might
Correct.
be
3,
the
and the
case.
5
So
in the 2, 3, 5, 7. You've seen.
Okay.
it's interesting.
So give me the Fang Leviathan.
She's a 6/6, right?
Yes.
Trading with this guy, the big one.
It's either 6'8" or 6.
6/6.
Oh yeah, that's who I want to go after. Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Cool.
trade it. Yeah.
That works.
And then 3 cards in hand and pass turn.
Okay. 3, 1, 2. Play that. Let's play the City Hunter.
And a
failure,
ghost.
Failure to search.
Okay,
You don't
cool.
do this, but, you know,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm just gonna shuffle, okay?
Yeah.
To shuffle the deck because there are no equipments left. The only equipment he's playing is the Serpent Crown, the Mind Gem, and the Nullifier, all of which are accounted for.
Let's try and get Odin out of here, I guess.
And how much they coming at?
That's 13.
13.
Yeah.
And Bert's side is getting pretty crowded over there.
That's gonna be good. Give me back. They both 2 health, right?
Yes.
I wonder if
Give me back Ghost.
he's got a way to deal with this
This is down.
Odin.
Go ahead.
Yeah, team attack with looks like a team attack with
Two.
Ghost and Jungle Hunter does it. And now David really doesn't have any finishers left in his deck.
Yeah, both copies of Goose have been played. Both Odins have been played. I believe, yeah.
I think the
With
best
Grandmaster out, he can't get much
Okay.
as far as Dawn or
Okay.
Iron Man.
paragliding with the Bifrost again when he's got all those X-Files sitting there.
Give me the Jungle Hunter.
At the very least, his
7/7,
Spider-Man is a
Yes.
7/7 now. Odin is gone.
Pass turn.
1, 2. How many cards do you have in your hand?
5.
5.
Yeah, Build Phase in the chat. It really has swung the exact opposite direction from the beginning of the game.
Without this game.
I think so.
Yeah, I think that's kind of Bert's plan, right? You know, conserve hand advantage, keep your head down, take wounds. The only thing that went differently is the Molder ripping out his Dark Phoenixes. It puts your late game in a state of flux, right? Your plan is shot. But he's really kind of making it work here, making team attacks with Predators and really, really leaning on the Leviathans, the Cometfall Leviathans, putting in so much work this game.
Let's team attack into Spider-Man.
And we
Yeah,
got another
you-
team attack into
Another-
Spider-Man.
13.
Predator
give
team
me back
attack,
those.
yep.
Ghost is gone.
And I don't think that he has any. You're the last ones left. Maybe one copy left,
Game's tied up.
but he
now.
doesn't see it.
Yeah, I know.
Friend
right?
from work is
And-
much weaker in this matchup since he's playing against an evil deck,
What we got there?
You good?
Try. Yeah, I'm good. Go ahead.
and he just takes
You
that
want to?
third wound. And just like
And
that, it's
suddenly
tied
the
up.
game is tied up. Yeah.
Yeah, Bert really, really with the comeback here. Very impressive.
I guess you could take this all the way back to the very first turn and question why David decided to go first.
Yeah, I think that's huge, right? That's huge against Black Cat. If you have the ability to keep her off the level up, that's just another thing that she has to deal with, and I think you always want to make her go first. Goose comes down to eat
Goose comes up.
Sentry. I think it's too little too late, though, at this point.
I got 2 left for
Although, now nothing that Bert has is really big enough to make an impact here, so maybe it's
climbing the Bifrost.
could be really significant here.
Again.
Mm-hmm.
At Black Cat.
It does make Spider-Man
I'm a 7, but
the biggest kid on the block right now.
9-9.
And there's the friend from work. So he's now bumps up Spider-Man to a 9-9.
Who's he trying to hit, I wonder? Is he trying to go after Black Cat? Because Black Cat still has the cancels.
That's good. Okay. I have nothing else. Okay. That's fine.
1, 2.
Yeah, he keeps focused on Black Cat.
He's a 7.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough to hit Black Cat. She got what, 2 or 3 reds face up with 2 Madripoors and a training ground. Seems unlikely to hit. He uses the shock instead, keeping the 2 Madripoors in the training ground, and yeah, that nullifier has been very, very, very persistent.
So going back to that moment where David paraglided on Bifrost, and then there must have been something else that I missed, because I'm told that it doesn't restrict David's ability to use Bifrost.
Interesting. Okay.
So unless, yeah, there must have been something there that I missed. Yeah, it'll be something we can talk to him at the end of the match.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Mystique comes out.
These 2 guys would like to talk to Spider-Man.
Interesting. Doing a team attack.
Power up on the Grandmaster. He's a 1/2.
What is happening?
So we got team attack with Grandmaster, who's been powered up, so now he's a 1/2, and Ronin into Spider-Man, and their power up on Ronin.
I'm so.
Oh,
Oh my gosh!
and
I'm
another power.
astounded at what I'm seeing right now.
I think Bert's just having fun now.
We're seeing an aggressive Grandmaster play of some sort. Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
Okay.
he's just getting through every card he's got in his hand.
This is incredible, though. If you can manage to, and he managed.
And
Oh
he
my
did.
god! Okay, that was
He
a
absolutely
twice
did.
powered up Ronin and a twice powered up Grandmaster for the effective team attack on Spider-Man. Oh my gosh!
I want my Sentry back. Jungle Hunter into Goose.
That's good.
That was exactly 7, and it hits.
Now you can show me that your last one.
I do not have it.
Oh, okay.
And just like that, Dave is back down to a single character.
That was that's the highlight of the match for me so far. Maybe the highlight of the tournament. That was incredible. Oh my gosh.
It was a team attack with Grandmaster and Ronin, with both cards being double pumped.
Grandmaster is a 0-1 for anyone who's not appreciating the gravity of this. He's a 0-1.
Does Ronin have leader?
He does not.
Because Ronin took the wound.
Yeah, I guess David struck the Ronin, leaving the Mind Gem up. Spider-Man will get to heal a wound, though, thanks to Dana Scully here. So buying an extra turn.
I don't think I've ever seen this many resources spread across a game.
This is got to be close to the longest match we've seen in the Quarantine Cup thus far, other than maybe that Madam Hydra versus Death game that came to a deadlock at the end there. but this has got to be
For,
close.
7-7, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a shout out from chat to Stacks for the color commentary. Well done.
Thank you, appreciate that. I get excited when I see crazy plays like that. That was incredible. A 7/7 Spider-Man got taken out by Grandmaster and Ronin.
This resource, I suppose.
Amazing.
I'm gonna play Sentry. And
Okay.
Play City Hunter.
Another sentry.
Okay.
I guess now it's going to come down to who runs out of a deck first.
We gonna make them rethink untimed games.
Yeah.
You know, Bert and I always call Sentry the wall because he's so hard to get over. But at this point, it's true. I don't think Bert has a yellow left to feed to Sentry. I think he's a blocker. He's got no way to make him attack. He's got no Dark Phoenix to delete keywords. He's got no yellows to feed to Sentry so he can strike. He's making it work with what he's got. He's got kind of these low drop guys, and he's pushing it as best he can.
Ghost takes a shot at Scully, and David makes a comment of maybe we will start rethinking untimed games for these streams.
It's a fair point. Regardless, we're in the top 8, so even if we'd played with a timer in Swiss, it's rare to do a timer in top 8. But
yeah, I do recall at Gen Con a couple of years ago, the top 8 took the entire time that our room was open.
Okay.
So much so that our head judge, Chad, had to physically run to the main hall to pick up whatever item he was needed to pick up before they closed that day.
oh my. Yeah, sometimes it's like that. Friend from work actually gets some value here to put Scully. Looks just out of reach of Ghost.
And the Elogian in chat says that Ripley was to blame.
You're probably not wrong there.
Apparently, the final for that matchup was a couple hours long.
I believe,
for
yeah.
hiding ability.
I don't know if they played best of 5 or best of 3, but any series more than one game against Warrant Officer Ripley, you're asking to go long. Definitely a very, very long game type of deck. And we're seeing something similar here. Very, very grindy. They did best of 5. Like a couple animals.
Best of 5, wow. Yeah, these two setups, these two decks are just set up in a way that everything that that Bert had for an attack has been wiped out, and so he's having to get really, really fancy on what he can do, and David is just trying to stay in there as long as he can.
Yeah, and this, he's now healed. He was at 4 wounds just moments ago. He's healed twice with Scully. He's now at 2. And Bert's running out of ways, I think, to put the wounds on. And I think this game might be heading towards a deadlock like we've seen. Like we saw in Swiss once or twice.
That would be unfortunate because both these guys have been playing tremendously this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
How tall is Spider-Man?
5'5".
Looks like Bert is a favorite to win this game in the chat.
Yeah, it didn't look that way, and then it did, and now we don't know.
Okay.
Another Mystique? Not sure if she's in the front or back row.
It's like somewhere in between, kind of considering formation. What are the stats on Mystique? She's a 1/4. I don't think she can do anything here. She's not showing a red.
2 in the graveyard, and I don't think
she's a 0/4.
Now I'm going to remove from play.
There's one.
Or
that
1-4
finishes it.
rather. Sorry,
None
it's
of
shoot a
them
1-4.
play.
Okay,
So I only played 2.
that's rough.
Oh man, this game state, crazy. Steak is in the back row here. Doesn't do much at this point in the game. If you could trigger the mutant bomb, it would be very
Into
impactful. But
Spider-Man.
I assume Ghost is
That's good.
taking on
Spider-Man,
Spider-Man here, but
Team attack
and
into
takes the
Scully.
wound.
I'm going
And now we've got a team attack into Scully.
yeah, I wonder how he's going to try to get there. But I think you have to try to get rid of her.
Oh,
He's
well, I
still
don't know.
showing one more X-Files
we're
for the
just gonna
heal.
Team attack into Scully, I guess.
Yeah, he is doing the team attack into Scully.
Ronan.
Okay.
Scully has 5 defense right now,
That's my turn.
and
I was intrigued to see what's gonna happen.
nothing from
next.
Bert. I don't know if he was trying to trick him into burning a plot twist, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's what he was trying to do. Because now this is just going to be kind of a race to see. Obviously, you're trying to put as many wounds on an opponent to take them out, but if this comes down to a deadlock, it's going to be whoever has the most wounds.
Yeah, as it stands, they're tied. But that Scully stuck around another turn, and David is still showing an Earth or an X-Files rather in this case to heal another wound from Spider-Man.
We will Bifrost Century.
He's
Looks like
Bifrosting Sentry.
Bifrosting Sentry to try once again to take a crack at that back row.
Yeah, but Bert's showing 3
Paraglide.
Madripoors.
So what you'll have to do is bait one Madripoor and then swing in again. But his board state isn't really in a place where he can do that, I don't think.
Grandmaster.
Going for Grandmaster.
Team attack on Black Cat.
And a team attack on Black Cat. So that would most likely just burn.
710.
Yeah, so then now the question Bert has to ask himself is, do I want to daze or do I want to try to wound Spider-Man next turn? So he's going to take the daze.
He's going to take the days.
That puts Spider-Man in a position of being safe from being wounded next turn. So
You currently have how many cards in your hand?
5.
For those of you just joining us in chat, this is still the first game of the Versus System 2PCG Quarantine Cup Battle for the Bronze. I'm pretty sure this is the longest game we've had in this since we've been doing the streams. Bert's Black Cat was behind in the beginning, but has worked her way back up. She's shown 3 wounds. And David's Spider-Man MCU is staying in there. He was kind of favored going in, and both decks seem to be kind of just hanging in.
That's good.
man, what a game! Definitely, we're well over an hour here, and there's been 2 or 3 significant swings and advantage.
Spider-Man's at 3 wounds, right?
2.
2. Yikes. Okay.
Yeah, he's been healed 3 times since Scully was.
I'm pretty sure that we've seen all of the X-Files locations on Bert's or not David's.
I believe so too. Between Scully and the one Mulder activation, I don't remember if Mulder used an X-Files or a yellow. I believe it used an X-Files. So between 3 heals and 1 Mulder, I think they're all gone.
Formation, Paraglide.
Now the best aggressive play that Bert has now, I think, is that Ghost in the back row there. But as long as David remembers to Paraglide, he'll be 1 out of reach from Ghost 6 attack. And Bert has somewhere, looks like 2 or 3 or 4 cards left in his deck.
Okay.
To try to turn this into a victory.
Play Savage Leviathan. Common Ball, push your Spider-Man to the back, I guess.
He's back there?
So he's pushing Spider-Man to the back row with Savage Leviathan.
Okay, you have the Savage Leviathan with the
Ghost into Spider-Man. 6/7.
Comet Fall.
And
Will
yeah, and with Comet Fall, it makes Spider-Man willing to get hit by Ghost.
yeah, makes that a favorable attack again, which is enough to tie it back up again.
Paraglide?
Yep.
Pass turn.
1, 2.
David's showing a sizable hand here.
We're gonna play the Levy Beast.
Oh,
No Dave, but
no! Oh, that's very. Oh, he had another Comet Fall left, which of course makes that Ghost attack line up perfectly.
6/7.
That's good.
Which will take Spider-Man to 4 wounds.
4 wounds.
Now, what we could see is something like Ghost to take out Maria Hill next turn, and then a Leviathan team attack. And then now we have to push through Buffy as well.
Yeah, the thing to keep an eye on Bert's side is because his big attacker is basically just a wall. He's having to team attack. And Bert just pulled the last card of his deck.
Bert draws his final cards there, and he's got to find a way to get to Spider-Man this turn. And Spider-Man is a 7. Flying over with Ghost will no longer do the trick.
Right? Is that right?
1/1.
I think you need a Leviathan team attack, but you have to push through.
Well, he's got Maria Hill's down to a 1/1. But he does have Buffy.
Yeah, Mystique could do it. Ghost Rider, I don't even know where I came up with that. Black Cat could do it. And then a Leviathan team attack. I think I think. Come on, put Mystique up front. Mystique can take out
1, 2,
Maria
3,
Hill.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Oh, could be
Dave's
a victory.
got 9 cards in his hand.
He didn't have the cancel the last few turns. I wonder if he's. I don't know what he's got. I don't know what's in there.
Yeah, she's only got a few cards left in his deck, so maybe he's holding it to the last ditch. But I don't know. Everything I expected out of this game has not occurred, and it's just
Out
been
the
blown
window
away
now.
by these two. Yeah, completely out of the window.
So Bert's calculating here. He's still thinking.
She's a 1/1.
I think Mystique goes up front, and she does. Yeah.
And she does.
All right. Mystique is going to attack Maria Hill. She's a 1/1, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay. I'll go into the Maria
And
Hill.
Mystique goes into Maria Hill and takes her out.
Okay.
But
Goes
Buffy
into
can
Buffy.
still pay. She can still pay those locations, right? So she's gonna
Goes
be.
into Buffy.
He's a 6/7.
I'm going to buff twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, buff twice.
Not gonna work this turn.
Okay.
Dang it. Ugh. Thought we were gonna see it.
We have to team attack them.
Bert's still deciding if he wants to take another swing. He's got that team attack and the Leviathans he could use.
Man.
It comes down to the end like this. You start thinking of every possibility you can, and sometimes even overthinking things.
Looking at that Madripoor. Make him discard a card, maybe.
I'll pass.
And he passes.
I'm done.
Going to.
And Bert has no cards left.
Bert has no cards in his deck. He has no cards in his hand?
Oh, no cards in his deck. He's got to have something in his hand, but whether he's got something that can help him push through another turn to try to get to Spider-Man, I don't know about that. But whatever he's got in his hand and on his board is all he's got left.
He's got plenty on his board.
Mm-hmm.
Just whether or not he can get things to line up the way he needs them.
Tony Stark.
Yep.
Iron Man comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Chat seems to think that that Bert is empty-handed.
+1/+1 counter. Second +1.
In that case,
counter.
might have slipped out of his hands then.
Yeah, normally Bert puts it on the screen there. He will stack it on the screen, but we haven't seen.
Yeah, that's a good point. He usually does. He'll put it off to the side there with his little hand marker on it.
Everybody gets moved to the front row.
Yep.
Paragliding.
Yeah, I
Lots
think
of
it's out of
counters
reach.
across.
So give me the bigger Leviathan beef with Spider-Man.
Swings at the larger Leviathan.
9-9.
9-9.
Aim at Leviathan Beast. It was a 6/8.
Yeah, if Bert didn't have anything in his hand, he would have figured this out.
Yeah, if he's considering something, then he's probably holding cards.
Yeah, this seems like a long time to figure out if you don't have anything that's not directly in front of you. And dramatic entrance. Grandmaster.
Yeah, dramatic Grandmaster. Which will KO the first Grandmaster. So not the greatest dramatic.
You saw that, right?
Yeah. The new one became on the other one, and then the other one couldn't
But
exist.
enough to cancel the combat.
Okay.
Yeah, it was basically a 2-card play to cancel the combat and remove one of your own
Buffy
characters.
into the 6/8.
Okay.
We're taking Buffy into the 6/8 and Buffer.
How tall is Buffy?
Yeah, you gotta kill one of the Leviathans because you put your Spider-Man up front. You're putting yourself in huge risk of a Leviathan team attack.
All right, man.
So you have to kill one.
I'll just start running a counter on these games. This is what, hour 15?
Yeah, easily.
How many cards do you have in your hand?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Dave's got 8 cards in hand.
Appreciate it. 8. Iron Man to 6/6.
I wonder what we could possibly be considering here.
I
we've
have
seen,
no idea.
by that point, all of Bert's dramatics, and I know for a fact we've seen all 3 shock. There's only 3 shock in the list, and I think that was the 4th and final dramatic.
3 cards in deck.
3 cards left in your deck. Okay.
Yeah.
And David's only got 3 cards left in his deck. So he's got 2 more turns to draw. What could Bert be thinking about right now?
I'm really not sure.
Oh, there's a couple cards. So he's got something. And he flips a... Almost? Maybe? Possibly?
Is it? What's he
Give me a
doing?
second here.
Anytime.
He says he's thinking still.
I have 5. I have 5 currently.
He has 5 cards in hand. Okay, so we just got a confirmation he's got 5 cards in hand. And he is thinking about flipping. Wow, he is thinking deep.
Maybe it's a fourth dramatic. Maybe I miscounted dramatics, but I think if it was a dramatic, you throw that right away. So I don't know what it could possibly be.
It
It's a
is
dramatic.
another dramatic.
Yeah, it has to be the final one.
And
What?
loses. He loses the
Wow.
wall.
Wow.
Just to save the team attack. He is losing the wall in
So,
hopes
yeah.
that he can hit Spider-Man one more time.
That's definitely where the consideration was coming.
Yep.
Do I have the guaranteed win next turn? Is it worth it to throw away my sentry?
So you have 2
Whoa.
cards in hand? You have
And that's why.
And he is another.
And there's another one. So he was willing to do it to protect, but he did lose one of his Leviathan.
I don't know how he hits.
Ghost into Iron Man.
So sending Ghost to Iron Man and a friend from work.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think he's just trying to put the game into a state where
Beast into Iron Man.
it's a deadlock, right?
a
And then
6/6,
he's ahead on wounds.
Yeah. And I'm gonna power up my Iron Man without Iron Man.
Power up Iron Man with Iron Man. Yep, that works. 7/7. I have nothing if you're gonna go again.
So Iron Man has got bumped up, so he's now a 7/7.
We're gonna set off the mutant bomb.
Yeah, puts him just out of reach of Leviathan Beast 6 attack.
That red belongs to
Your main character may pay.
Oh, sorry. So okay, yeah, good.
So yeah, so the mutant bomb can activate because the main character is the one who's paying for it. So he uses a magic rapport to activate the mutant bomb.
Calls for themselves.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Go ahead. That's EOT.
John 2.
Mm-hmm.
Playing Academy.
Yep.
And could this be David's last chance to get that fourth wound on Black?
Billionaire playboy philanthropist. Yep.
Drawing my last card.
You too.
And David has drawn his last card.
Yep, that genius billionaire playboy philanthropist will draw the final card. And one way or another, we got to be nearing the end of this game. Dawn can finally safely come out.
Wow, I don't think this game has gone either direction either one of these players have thought it would go.
Now, even if he does manage to line up some kind of attack on Spider-Man, you got to get through Dawn first.
Paraglide.
He paraglided but flipped it.
I think maybe that was the philanthropist, or maybe.
Okay.
What's happening here? Yeah, no, it's the paraglide. He just flipped it instead of.
Yeah. Bert noticed that as well and wasn't sure if he had already played. Yeah, Build Phase in chat saying this must be a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Crazy day.
Oh boy.
Yeah. You got it.
Starting to feel like this game might go into Wednesday though.
All right, so the Leviathan's gone and the play has been passed. So we've got a sentry up front that can't do anything other than block. A ghost already has one wound on it, going up against 4. He's got to take out Dawn first.
Attack Dawn.
And he does.
Well, I wonder if there was a better play there. Now, can Sentry attack but just not strike? I wonder. Sentry can swing. He just can't strike. What does Dawn say? As they make their first attack, you must attack Dawn. So, the correct play there would have been just to swing with Sentry into Dawn, right? and he can't strike, but it's the first attack of the turn.
It
And
would
then you
still
can
be the first declared attack.
Yep. So
That's enough.
I think you could call that a misplay there. Then Ghost could have gone in and tried to take out Iron Man, or put a wound on Buffy. I think taking out Iron Man to minimize the chance of a team attack is what you wanted to do. But yeah, so Sentry can declare attacks. He's perfectly able to declare attacks. He just cannot strike.
Pass turn.
And it goes back to Bert. So with Donna out of the picture, Ghost would go after Buffy?
I think you try to take out that Iron Man. I don't think you want a situation where.
Work have you played now?
Well, I mean, I don't see any situation in which you can team attack Sentry because then you'll just lose the game, right?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
You have
6,
to climb
7.
for a long time, paraglide for a long time to get Spider-Man up there, but theoretically, that's where this game could go. I mean, if we get into deadlock, then he could just paraglide with that location every single turn until he gets into a favorable position, which will take us a long time.
So some questions that Bert asked were how many Sokovia chords has David played, which is 1, and how many Friends from Work David has played, which is 3. David also has 7 cards in hand, which would be everything that he's got.
Yeah, so I mean, at this point, you can safely guess with nearly 100% accuracy what tricks he has in his hand, right? I mean,
so Ghost is going to Iron Man with a Friend from Work.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's it. Because I mean, as long as David has a location, it's technically not a deadlock. He can climb every single turn until eventually Spider-Man is 30-30 if he wants, and then he can finally win.
7 plus 10, 17. 18, okay.
Yeah, David is using up his resources, though, or his locations in order to get those plus counters on it, and we've got a team attack into Sentry. Sentry takes the wound.
Pass turn.
Let's go to game 2. You got it.
And Bert has decided to concede.
Scooping
That
it
was
up.
an incredible matchup.
Yeah.
Talk about an absolute roller coaster.
Wow, that was nearly an hour and a half
So
in
I
that
guess
game.
It is possible to deck out.
It is.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Yeah,
Holy cow.
both players, their setups weren't running the way that they had planned it, but at the same time, they were perfectly matched up for each other. Both completely deck out. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 18 resources on both sides. That was just absolutely crazy.